Have you heard? Metro by T-Mobile now includes Amazon Prime. Yes, enjoy the best of shopping and entertainment, movies, TV shows, music, free shipping, and much more. All included for just $40 per line for 3 lines. All on the T-Mobile network. Discover the smarter way. Metro by T-Mobile. That's genius. One offer per account. Offer subject to change. $12.99 per month value. Offer valid for new Amazon Prime members. Metro customers may notice reduced speeds versus some T-Mobile customers. Video at 480p. Capable device required. See store for details and terms and conditions.
A pilot like you should be serving your country. We could use someone like you.
From the director of The Bourne Identity.
I was working for the CIA and Pablo Escobar.
Comes an unbelievable true story.
We need you to deliver stuff for us. Just don't get caught.
I made a fortune working for them boys.
Tom Cruise.
He is the greatest smuggler we've ever seen.
Is this all legal?
You trust me?
No.
American Made. In cinemas now. Certificate 15A.
As humanity has been on the path of embracing diversity, one last minority is still unrecognized. Experiencers. These are the contactees, abductees, eyewitnesses, and researchers of the UFO phenomenon, paradimensional realms, and contact with other intelligences. Could it be that some protocol, some map, has been created by our visitors to integrate humanity into Paradigm Galactic? Could this be the experiencer path to disclosure? Welcome to Aquarian Radio, Friday night, with Janet Kira Lessin, Karen Christine Patrick, and the Reverend John Polk, and guests on the experiencer path. Hello, this is Karen Christine Patrick, and I'm joined today with the Reverend John Polk, and this is an interesting and maybe emotional show for us because the title of the show is called Transitions, and the reason why we called the show Transitions is because this is the last Friday night we're going to be with you on the Experiencer Path because there's a bunch of changes happening with all of us who love to do radio, and just to give you the quick rundown, I am going to be over on another network, and I'll tell you about that a little bit later with a show on Thursdays. Janet is going to take a hiatus from this show. It's going to get a name change and have a new host or couple of hosts. And anyway, we're going to talk about kind of what we've accomplished in this show. I think it's been really amazing. We've got John Polk with us. We've got frequent guest Brett Collins Shepard with us today, and hopefully some others that'll come in. And I'm not sure where Janet is, but I'm sure that she's got a good reason why she kind of missed this first part of the show, but hopefully she'll come on and say howdy. In the meantime, let's just say hi to my co-host for this evening, John Polk. How are you, John?
I'm good. I'm busy tweeting. But yeah,
You're tweeting.
I'm tweeting out the show as we speak.
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, this has been a really amazing run on the Experiencer Path. Our intention, and I think we accomplished it, was to interview experiencers and let them tell their story their way. And I felt that was really an important thing to do because as the title of the show, the Experiencer Path, I've come to believe that how disclosure, quote unquote, is going to happen is because it's going to be the experiencers that are going to bring it. The word disclosure or the idea or the meme of it was, one of our presidents would stand up and tell everyone that the UFO phenomenon is real and that we've been in contact, forever with other beings. But that seems to be the hope of that is, kind of gone down with the ship of who would believe any politician at this point of what they tell us or how they would interpret it for us. Would they look at it as a threat or would they look at it as one of the greatest things that would ever happen to mankind. So we kind of went on the premise and philosophical idea that disclosure, or when humanity begins to accept that there's otherworldly realities and other non-human intelligences, would be through the experiencers, because that is almost like, if we had to say what are they doing besides they, the ubiquitous they being the ET, they are showing us their ships, but they are also contacting humanity, human beings by the millions. And so why don't we look at that pattern? Why don't we look at what I think is a protocol is going on? So we did this show for quite a while here on Blog Talk Radio with that premise and with that philosophy, and I think we had an amazing run and did some amazing stuff that we're going to talk about. And I see Janet has joined us. Hello, Janet.
Hi. Whoops. Hi. Yes, hi. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you great. I was just telling everybody what the show is about. Yeah.
Yes. Well, you were talking about when will disclosure happen, and so I just got off with Fox News from Vegas. Faith, what's her name? Faith. Sorry, I'm not into news cast, but anyway, they wanted to talk about Nibiru and the solar eclipse. So that is a mainstream television network wanting to know what's going on. Of course, they will probably take it and twist it and make it into some ha-ha thing. But, you know, Dr. Lessin and I did our best, and that's why I'm 2 minutes late getting on here, because I had to finish up and then... that's so great.
Totally fine. I have announced that we are shutting down this project as of tonight, but we've got new projects coming. But with my two co-hosts here, we might want to tell what we thought the highlights of this run of shows was, what we liked the best, and then towards the other half of the show, we'll talk about what's coming in the future for us individually, because we're super hyper busy people in this genre, as well as the new shows that are coming. So, Janet, I'll give you the talking stick first to talk about what we've accomplished here on the show and what you like the best about it.
Well, I like talking to experiencers. I like focusing on experiencers. Their stories are fascinating. I just can't get enough. Every time I think I've heard it all, I get a new experiencer, and it just blows my mind. I think if we pay attention to these people, the true picture of what's going on in the cosmos will emerge, and we really need to pay attention to all the different genres, including, channeling, whistleblowers, researchers, especially experiencers, those who have firsthand. These are witnesses. These are eyewitnesses. They don't have to be politicians or police to be, credible. They are credible witnesses. They are people that you and I know. We run into them at the store, at different events, and they need to be acknowledged and recognized. And one of the things we learned on the experiencer's path is that there's controversy over if things are, mind controlled and fed into people's minds. I don't think that's relevant. I think at this point, what we're trying to do is not find the truth, but find out what is going on in all ways, shapes, and form, because, there's definitely different factions with their agendas and things going on. We have the beings of light in service to others, and the beings of dark, self-serving, and it's like a continuum, and it's a passion play, and it appears at the highest level of existence. We have all decided to play this game. It's our matrix. It's our morphogenic field that we feed into, and it affects us, and we affect it. And I think it's all good on some level. I had somebody asking me about, I forget her question, but anyway, I just said on some level, we are everything. We are the protagonist, and we are the victim, and we are all of these things in some form in our little avatars here, and we're playing out this passion play to maximize creativity and coexistence and co-creation with divine source, universal consciousness, God source, however you symbol it. But that seems to be what's emerging from these experiencers, and people symbol it in many, many different ways. They take it from the personal to the interpersonal to the global to the cosmos and everything in between. So our universe in this late part of the 20th and early part of the 21st century, has gotten much bigger, much more expansive, much larger than when I began this journey in 1954 with the advent of television as being a new media. It's really amazing when you look at your own life, how things were when you were a child compared to where they are now, and you just try to extrapolate it. And I think we're heading for the stars. Next month, the new Star Trek Discovery premieres. These landmark science fiction movies and television programs reflect what's really going on in our culture. A lot of the people inside Hollywood that produce these movies, they have the inside track for different technologies and things. I often will look over a show that's several years old, and I'll go, wow, those people must be psychic. And I think they have some inside information that the only way they can get it out to the world is by fictionalize it. And plus we have people that are accessing the grid, the morphogenic field. But Experiencer's Path has been a monumental journey. The shows are all archived. We're going to work, they're recorded. They're in the, the database on BlogTalkRadio. I'm going to continue paying for that until the world ends, so we don't lose our archive. And I still use BlogTalkRadio. I like Blog Talk. It's a nice format. They've done a lot of work. They're announcing a lot of improvements, and so I think it's going to go the long run because it's a platform that's used by many, 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 many people that are well known. We have over 500,000 views on our Blog Talk shows, which is a huge amount of people that have tuned in since 2012 when we started this Aquarian Radio, and I'm very proud of that. I'm proud of the work that Karen, Christine Patrick, and John Polk, Reverend John Polk, who I think is here today, and all of our guests, and my husband, Dr. Sasha Lessin, and all my other co-hosts on other shows. I'm just proud of all the work we're doing here for humanity, for this grand global and universal awakening. I think I've talked enough. Has John Polk joined us? Because he called me. He's with us. Okay.
He can have we've always talked about our invisible talking stick. He can have it next.
Okay, John, yes. Reverend John Polk, take away the invisible talking stick. And we have a fourth number here. Does anybody know who that is?
Is it Jeffrey?
That's a listener. I checked in. That's a listener.
Okay, great. Well, go ahead, John. What did you do on your summer vacation?
I prepared my house to sell it, and it took me 3 months. It dated back to when I was with you and Dr. Sasha at Contact in the Desert. I started working on my house in May. It was very long and arduous and tumultuous, and it took, of course, way longer than I wanted it to, and it cost way more money than I expected it to. And, anybody that's bought and sold a home, I what I went through, and I did it by myself. I live by myself, so I did pretty much everything by myself, and it was a ton of work, but it was rewarding. In the end, I sold my house to a cash buyer, and that worked out pretty good. I really screamed and yelled at him because I didn't trust him at first. I scared him, and he didn't even do an inspection on my home. Are you kidding me? And my septic tank, my drain field was all messed up. I know that I had mold in the attic and in the air conditioning. It was a very old home, and it was at the point where, it was just going to be a huge money pit. So I fixed it up some and then realized I can sell it as is without having to fix it up to a cash buyer. And I dumped my real estate agent, who was my best friend, which was kind of difficult to do, but he understood. And I went with a cash buyer. And that's what I did the majority of my summer. On my birthday, which was July 30th, I worked all day on fixing up my house. And it was just a very uneventful birthday, but the time I spent was served very well. And then my dad gave me his F-150 truck with an extended cab. I mean, are you kidding me? So, you know, when things like that are handed to you in life, be very, very humble in the eyes of God. You know, and I really, really coached myself through being grateful and being humble and being appreciative. And I prayed on it so hard every night. You know, being gifted with such an incredible thing, that awesome vehicle that I am now, it was really a humbling experience. And then so all of a sudden I had an extra vehicle, which was my Toyota 4Runner, and I sold that through Craigslist and did pretty good doing that. And I've just been very blessed. And so my uncle, you know, God forbid, he's living with my mother in Tallahassee, Florida right now because of health problems. And his wife is going through cancer treatments right now in Seattle, Washington. And they did a recent biopsy on part of it, and it came back negative. So that was incredibly good news. And so, you know, I'm hearing that I'm going to be in this house with nobody here. I'd rather my aunt be here. I'd rather her kids, you know, my cousins be here. But they're in school right now, and so I'm here by myself. And, you know, it's been an incredible blessing. I wish them love and light and healing. And I've talked to everybody recently about everything I've just talked about just now, and it was very cathartic. You know, make you tear up a little bit, you know, when everything seems to be going pretty good and they're dealing with, you know, potentially life-threatening health issues. It's been a very humbling experience. I drove all the way across the country and only stayed in one hotel. And that was when I was at Karen's house. Eric and I got a hotel down the road, and then we connected with Karen and Brett the next day, and then Brett and Eric drove from Dulce, New Mexico. He was with the Jicarilla Apache Indians going through the Archuleta Mesa, and they're showing him, you know, like, you know, the bases are over here and stuff like that. And, he's like, dude, I'm 3-something hours from you. I'm just going to drive down. And that was kind of an impromptu visit, but it was actually really cool. So Karen and Brett and Eric and I, we hung out at their house, and we're on the back porch, and you see all this esoteric military craft I've never seen before. And Brett was like, dude, they will fly in and out of the mountain. Like, oh, wow. And there was these private airstrips that I don't think are even on maps that are on either side of their home. And you see all this very esoteric, enigmatic kind of aircraft that I've never seen before, flying in and out the whole time. It was an incredible trip across the country. I saw UFOs along the way with my cousins. One of my cousins said that her mother was a Draco human reptilian hybrid. I mean, this whole trip just totally, and she's like, I saw my mom's eyes shift, like, you know, like slit down the middle, and the iris is opening from side to side instead of being a circular pupil. She said she saw her mother do that. I'm like, are you kidding me? And her father, my first cousin, and she's 15 now, he's like, I never heard any of this before. It was just an incredible journey. And now I'm in Sedona. I've seen 2 UFOs already inside of 8 days, and I wasn't even really trying. It just happened. And when did I see the first one? On the night of the eclipse, of course. And I was invited to an eclipse party. So now I'm going to do some name dropping with some people that we definitely want to interview in the future. Suzanne Ross, who owns Sedona Supernatural. She's a film producer, and she's magnificent. She's good at CGI. She has a green screen studio in the basement of her home. She's a good narrator, script writer. She's brilliant, all the way from top to bottom. Very professional, and she invited me to her eclipse party. And everybody there was pretty much either a psychic medium or a spiritual healer. And I met all these incredible people. I've already forged some really good relationships. I've only been here 8 days. So I'm truly blessed, and I give it all back to the universe. And I will pass it to Karen on that note. It
was really fun. Eric came screaming in here right at the moment that they were doing John's show that he'll be back on next week. When I first talked to John a couple of years ago, and I listened to him on the phone, I said, John, you've got such a great radio voice. You need to be on radio. So he was with us at Aquarian Radio for a goodly time, and then he, not too long ago, or a while back, I'm not sure how many months ago, he started his own show, the Quantum Hologram Matrix, on Wednesday nights, and Eric and him arrived right when the show was on. So they're having trouble picking up cell service unless they're standing in our backyard because we're up on top of a mesa. So Eric is out there sitting on an old freezer, like doing the show, and then John screams in, and we all jump in on the show. We had David Adair was on there, who's fabulous. Brett and I met him in Colorado. So we sort of have this big, happy family of experiencers, but also radio people, and it's very different from the cutthroat, competitive, idea, because we all know how hard it was to get our stories out, so we're all in support of one another. And I want to say, even though this particular configuration of the show is going to change, Janet considers Aquarian Radio a network now, so we're going to be on each other's shows, sharing our show links to each other, mutually promoting each other, because it's time for the experiencer movement to collectively find its voice, and I hope we're part of helping that, because I think it's so important to continue to bring forth experiencer researchers, as Brett and I consider ourselves experiencers and researchers. We were having a big debate the other night of, are we researchers or are we searchers? So I have totally enjoyed this chapter that's ending, but the book's not over. So we have more to do, more expanded things to do. All of us are incredibly busy and probably doing dress rehearsal for a whole new level when humanity really wants to know. I think that a lot more and more people want to know. They have a need to know. And a lot more other people have a need to tell. I had an experiencer tell me that the other day, having a need to tell their story. And some of us have had bumpy times. Brett and I got released from doing a conference because of somebody bad-mouthing us and blaming us for stuff, or bad-mouthing us, or trying to shut us up, whatever you want to call it. All of us in this this has not been easy to do what we're doing. We've literally had threats, we've had equipment breakdowns, sabotage, we've had electronic interference even on this show. So this is not an easy thing to do, but to me it's like if you're getting, what I like to say is if you're getting flack, that means you're on track. And so it means that we're actually hitting some resistance because we're telling something that is important, and you blow through that resistance by persistence, or what I like to call persistent intention. Just keep going like the little engine that could, and that's how it gets done. And so this is just a transition. It's not the end of anything. Just new things happening, and we'll get into that a little bit more. I want to bring in my partner Brett, because he has been on and off guest for us, and sometimes panelist, and also we've had a very exciting development in what we're doing, and I want to make sure people know that Brett's been laboring on a book about anomalies, and we just have a short interview with him, if you guys don't mind, to tell what he's doing, and then I want to hear everybody else's projects that they're currently doing and the future. So that's past, present, and future is the theme of the show. But Brett, if you don't mind coming on, that'd be great. You with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, go ahead and tell us about Digital Moon.
Well, it's very interesting. I was inspired by many things, mostly life experiences, and it drove me to write the book, based on my definitive experiences, as well as the perception issues of our space agency and our space images in particular, from an artistic viewpoint. And one of the things that inspired me was the old Brookings report, where they talk about peaceful space activities for human affairs and the implications of discovery of extraterrestrial life. The way it goes, it says recent publicity given to efforts to detect extraterrestrial messages via radio telescope has popularized and legitimized speculation about the impact of such discovery of human values. Now, what's interesting about that is Tesla invented the radio telescope in the 1900s, and scientists took it and actually literally contacted intelligent life out there in around 1920. And people can read about that if they Google Shortby Mars. They can get that article. And it was conceivable that there is a semi-intelligent life in some part of our solar system, or highly intelligent life, which is not technologically oriented, and many cosmologists and astronomers think it is likely that there is intelligent life in many other solar systems. And while face-to-face with meetings will not occur within the next 20 years unless technology is more advanced than ours qualify it to visit Earth, artifacts left at some point in time by these life forms might possibly be discovered through the space activities on the Moon, Mars, or Venus. And if there is any contact to be made during the next 20 years, it will most likely be by radio, which would indicate that these beings had at least equal or our own technological level. An individual's reaction to such a radio contact would be in part depend on cultural, religious, and social background, as well as the actions of those considered authorities and leaders, and their behavior, in turn, would in part depend on the cultural, social, and religious environment. The discovery would certainly be front-page news everywhere. Right. That's me saying right.
Thanks.
The degree of political or social repercussion would probably depend on leadership, interpretation of one, its own role, two, the threats to that role, and three, national and personal opportunities to take advantage of the disruption and reinforcement of the attitudes and values of others. That's really enlightening, since they already knew that there was intelligent life out there. They already knew about the lunar ruins. They already knew about the radio contact. So since leadership itself might have great need to gauge the direction and intensity of public attitudes, to strengthen its own moral and for decision-making purposes, it would be most advantageous to have more to go on than personal opinions about the opinions of the public and other leadership groups. So, really, do you think that first contact would come from a president?
I'm not holding my breath.
Right. Yeah.
No. Believe I'm the wrong party.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. So, that's one of the inspirations of my book, Digital Moon, and what people get out of it is tools for perception and discernment, because it is my ultimate goal to at least give those tools about everything I wrote. And I go into the secret space program that NASA was always a secret space program, because it's just a front organization. And I also go into different extraterrestrial sources. I go in length into this story about the radio telescope, the VLA, Very Large Array over in New Mexico, and the actual dishes that are on the moon that we use for extraterrestrial contact. And there's also a lot of good explanations of the embedded imagery that I've been seeing, and all of the lunar images that were the same that I saw when I was 15 years old. It's quite the story. It is a very unusual book. The foreword was by Nancy Duterte, who was one of the last proteges of Ingo Swann, who worked for SRI in the remote viewing. He invented remote viewing for the military. So that's pretty much all I have to say. You can find Digital Moon on CreateSpace or at portalsofknowing.com.
Thanks, Brett, and we've been glad to have you as our sometimes guest. And we'll talk about it later in the show, but Brett and I are part of this new show that we'll be doing called Portals of Knowing on Revolution Radio. But I wanted to give a little bit more chance to talk about what we've accomplished here. I have it in mind that an interview a person that we had recently is no longer with us, and that was Jim Mars. And that was an amazing interview. I think it keeps me mindful of the fact that we don't always know how long we have our whistleblowers, researchers, or experiencers, that we definitely should, keep that in mind, that we only have our human experience and our human time on Earth to express those things. And Janet was at Contact, I believe it was Contact in the Desert, where she was able to meet with William Tompkins, who was an amazing experiencer, whistleblower, who his book Selected by Extraterrestrials people should definitely check out. But we just lost him too. And Janet, I was wanting to know if you could talk about William for just a minute.
Yes, I uploaded a bunch of pictures to my Facebook that I took with William Tompkins. I had forgotten I took them, and somebody who I had taken in one of the pictures took a bill with this woman. I forget her name right now. My apologies, but she emailed me. She says, "Did you have a copy of those pictures?" So I went in and I posted them on Facebook, and I had about 10 pictures. So it was so precious. We have William Tompkins as a wonderful, brave human being, a whistleblower. I don't think he expected to die within a month of when we all gathered together in Las Vegas, at the MUFON conference. He was at the top of his game. He was very healthy. He was running around. I was driving his wife in her wheelchair across the casino to this room that was on the other side from where we were at the vendor room, and I looked behind. I go, "Bill, are you okay? You keep up?" And he was right there with me. So, and I was just shocked that apparently he fell, hit his head, and he died from a brain bleed. So, anyway, fortunately, before that happened, he met with a number of people, and they were planning not one but 2 books about his life, and he got a lot of it downloaded and written, and it's all being edited right now, and there's enough for at least 2 more books, and we'll get the rest of his story. But his story is absolutely fascinating about how he worked for the military think tank programs, and they had an alternative space program. Probably a lot of the things that we're seeing on Moon, Mars, and other planetary systems and out there in our solar system especially are part of the secret space program. And so we are investigating the secret space program. If you are someone that has been involved in the program, please contact us. We would like to have you on our show. We will be very mindful of you and respectful and, help you through the process. You do not have to use your real name, but the real names, when people kind of come out of the closet and use their names, it actually creates added protection for all of us because, we're getting this information out there, and there's a point where we're going to reach critical mass, and we will go over into this new reality, new consciousness, and new paradigm, and start operating from that. I can't wait. I can feel it. I'm having that phenomenon where I'm very excited. It's like, well, what's going on? But I'm just very excited because our group effort, all of us here at Aquarian Radio, all the other alternative radio shows and media, and the people out there on Facebook that are creating their groups and posting, and now we have an army of civilians with their cameras and recording equipment. Like Karen was saying that John and Eric came by and they were broadcasting in the middle of the backyard. So now the kind of like the Wizard of Oz is being revealed behind the curtain, and the veil is falling, and we're getting the truth. And every day I wake up and I turn off my phone at night so I can sleep. Otherwise, I phone dings all night with messages and people calling to some. I'm in Hawaii and they think I'm, it's in a different time zone. So when I turn my phone on in the morning, it goes ding, 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 ding. There's all this information that comes in while I'm sleeping, and it's like, what's going on in the world? And so far it's been good. We have no major World War III. I think that we are waking up, and our energy is creating a protective shield for the planet. And there's a part of us that's saying, hell no, we're not going that way. We're not going that direction. We're going into this higher level, this ascension plane, this consciousness plane, and nothing is going to stop us. Not the death of an individual like Bill Tompkins. His energy is there. We stand upon the shoulders of giants, and from that perspective, we see far. So we respect our elders and those who've come before, grateful for people like Jim Mars and Bill Tompkins and all the other people that have been working this field for the last 100 years almost, going back to George Adamski and I guess not 100 years, but 60, 70 years. So I think I'm exhausting myself. I'm going to pass the talking stick to John. John, what would you like to say? Take it away.
So Karen mentioned earlier, let's talk about some of the highlights of this show. I've been with Aquarian Radio since 2014. It's like, really? It's been almost 3 years now. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's amazing.
And it's a deep, vast network that cross-pollinates with multiple networks. Even more so now, as we'll be moving the show to Revolution Radio starting next week, and I've actually filled in for Janet on Revolution Radio, and let's see, Mark Eddy, and their whole production team does a great job. They do a great job. I'm looking forward to working with them. But one of the show highlights that we may not have discussed too much is, remember when we did the interview with Joan Hangarter, and I mentioned Bill Tompkins' name, and Karen, can you remember what happened?
Oh, my gosh. Yes, we had an electronic voice come on the line.
Yeah. So
and I went and listened to it over and over.
Yeah.
It turned out it sounded to me like some kind of targeted situation, because they were saying you'll find this at minute number whatever, and I went back to listen, and it was on that minute, and it was kind of mocking us, and I'm not sure what they were going after there, except just to let us know they're there, which has happened to all of us at one time. Right, Janet and I were on the phone just talking about whatever show we were going to do next time. She went offline for a minute, and I heard a man clear his throat, as clear as can be, and I'm like, oh, hi, secret guy. And I always tell them, the universal law of you may observe, but you may not interfere, and I also tell them the watchers are watched. And I had to do this the other day because they were making their presence known, but it's like we're very interesting to certain segments of the secret shadow government. And that was like interesting. I remember that, definitely, Don.
Was that a show highlight? It's definitely worth mentioning, especially, and I'm the one who said Bill Tompkins, and then Janet goes, oh, funny it happens when he mentions Bill Tompkins. But you got to think, there's always ears on us. There's always eyes on us. They're always recording everything that we do and we say, especially digitally, electronically. It's very simple technology for them. They don't necessarily have somebody listening to every word that every podcaster says. But when you say certain buzzwords, I know that there's a computer system in place that will alert, somebody to start listening in, because now they're talking about sensitive material. Pizzagate was a hot topic, and I know I lost tons of air time because of us talking about it, and other sensitive issues related and interrelated to it. Talking about the Draco reptilians has gotten us bumped off the air multiple times. But I think it's to the point where there's so much of that information out there that we're not getting bumped as much because it's out there. And we are some of the progenitors in this field disseminating this controversial information. So get this. So where I live, I'm in Sedona, Arizona. I'm on the outskirts of town, but I'm still in Sedona proper. and there's this beautiful, very majestic mountain called Thunder Mountain. And I'm looking at it right now on my front porch. And it is beautiful, and it is magical, and it is powerful, and it's one of those red rock mountains that Sedona is famous for. And you can feel the supernatural energy exuding from it. And if you can't feel it, then you just can't feel anything. And when I first got here, I'm out on the porch. I see 4 Apaches buzz my property. I'm like, whoa. And usually when that happens, it has something to do with me. And then I can feel them using some kind of scanning device. They were scanning me. They're scanning this property because this property's been vacant since April. And now I'm in it, and, they know I'm here, and that's fine with me. I can't hide from anybody if I tried. But anyway, so I'm sitting on my front porch, which is a perfect vantage point of Thunder Mountain, and I see this guy walk by with 2 guitars. And, I sing for a living. And I'm like, I got to go talk to this guy. And he's walking up to the public library, which is walking distance from my house. I mean, take like 60 seconds to walk there. I start talking to him, and inside of 1 minute, we're talking about UFOs and ETs. And he said, you probably don't realize this, but there's actually a Joint T military base where they are genetically engineering giants, and they do it inside the mountain. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, really? I'm like, have you seen one? He said, no, but I've seen their skulls. I'm like, well, how big was the skull? He explained the skull to be at least 3 to 4 times the size of a normal human skull, which is bigger than the skull of the Anunnaki. I mean, huge. And he said they have this program. It's not an experiment. It's a program where they're genetically engineering these giants. For what purposes? I don't know. Do they stay subterranean? I would think so. Otherwise, we see them walking down the street. But it was a trippy story. And so when I went to that eclipse party, I threw that story out at all the psychic mediums and spiritual healers, and a couple of them chimed in and said, there's something to that story. Nobody could really definitively explain it to me, but I'm like, wow. So I know there's multiple programs going on within eyeshot of where I am right now, and I can only begin to guess at what all they're really doing inside and underneath the mountain.
Wow. Well, I'm really, I'm really, really glad you're in Sedona. I've wanted a good excuse to go there for a very long time. You'll be my good excuse to go visit, but I've heard about all kinds of things there of your metaphysical school that you went to there, and also the vortex that's out there. I know it's a popular mountain bike destination because I used to be around mountain bike people that pointed that out to me. You went to school there, right? I just wanted people to know about that because you got your international metaphysical minister degree in a school in Sedona, and I know a couple people out there that are students that might want to know about it.
Yeah, it's the University of Sedona. You can do it online. Now, on my resume, I make my resume fluffy by saying I have a bachelor's in metaphysics, which I do, and I have a ministry in metaphysics, which I do, all through the University of Sedona's International Metaphysical Ministry. But in effect, if you get a bachelor's in metaphysics through the University of Sedona, it is now recognized as a religion because it's all based on God, the God mind, the God self, and the God power, and the universal God consciousness, which, you can say it's source or the force like in Star Wars. I think it's a concept we can all easily understand. And it's 355 open book essay questions. And you either get them right or you get them wrong. And if you get an 80% clip of being correct, then you get both the BA, the bachelor's, and the ministry. So it can take 6 months. I took a year to do it, whatever. I think it costs like $500. It wasn't even that expensive. You can get ministries cheaper online, but I would have rather done it the way that I did it. I was forced to read these books and learn everything, and it was an open book exam, but it was not handed to me. I was constantly calling the university. If I had any question about any question, I called them. And out of 355, I think I possibly got 2 wrong, but I think I got them right also. But I'll never know because they don't tell you. You either pass or you fail. So
that
anyway,
works for me.
I did that, and it helped my soul expand so much. And then I'm a Reiki master instructor also, and they just play into each other perfectly. So it's very synchronistic. And now I'm here, and the University of Sedona is right down the road. And I've popped in there, and the people I needed to talk to were not there. So I'll pop in, just an impromptu pop in, and I'll open a dialogue with them, and hopefully I'll start working with them. But, so I'm sitting on my front porch, which I am now, and I'm people watching. There's all these, every tour in town drives right by my house every day. Every tour in town, there must be 20 of them. And I see this bus. I see this bus, and it's a little smaller than a Greyhound bus. And I see on the side of it, advertise here. And I'm thinking, can you see where I'm going already? I'm thinking, I want to put my books on there that Karen was the editor of. I want to put the book covers on there. My show, which is Quantum Hologram Matrix, put a logo for that on there, and then put my contact information on there. But at first I'm thinking, I'll just wrap my vehicle. But, Yahweh, the biblical God, is an alien. I'd end up being the victim of some hate crime if I did that on my F-150.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm like, so I don't necessarily need to do it on my vehicle. It would be better to do it on a tour vehicle, because what do all day long? They drive around Sedona. And then, if you want my books.
Yeah, the Blue Beings. You just got a good community there that's in your genre of things that you talk about. And those kind of communities are rare. They are. They are. I mean, in Orlando.
What does it cost to advertise? Did you figure out? Did you find out what it costs?
No. You know what? I just came up with this grand epiphany, Janet, about 2 hours ago. I'm sitting on the porch. I think I just talked to both of you ladies, and then I just see this tour bus, advertise here. To that, I thought of wrapping my truck, and then the more I thought about it, I'm like, no, my truck will get vandalized. Somebody will break my windows and slash my tires. Calling Yahweh the biblical God is an alien, and the Blue Beings visitation at the UFO conference. So then I see this tour bus, and I'm like, and then I'm like, I can advertise on the tour bus. I don't necessarily need to put my face, on the advertisement. And then my book is out there, and and I'd rather have people call me than do it online. I'm not even going to put my website on there. I don't want to do that. I want them to call me, because I don't trust internet book sales, because I know I've been burned by it multiple times.
Yeah. Well, this is what we think about trying to get venues for our books. I mean, we know we're controversial. I mean, we've had people. I remember when we were at the UFO Congress, and my job was to either go over work with Ken Johnston at his table, or come work over at what I call the Anunnaki Corner, which was like Dr. Sasha and Janet and you and me, and we were kind of there. And this woman walked in the door, and she saw your title, Yahweh the Biblical God is an Alien, and she had a spaz attack and was pointing to the book, and her husband dragged her away, and she still was pointing to the book as he dragged her away. And I also remember this one guy who came up to us, and what do you guys have? And I explained we had these Anunnaki books, and he said, oh, well, I'm not, he goes, I'm only interested in nuts and bolts of UFOs. Not anything you people have to say. And as he's walking away, that's when you think of the great comeback. It's like, well, who do you think's driving them? Who's the UFO not? But we get all kinds of reactions, and I'm always surprised when somebody that you think is going to be rejecting asks a lot of questions, seems interested, and even buys a book. There was a former minister that you talked to, John, at the UFO Congress, and he was a good student of ancient scripture, and he studied so much he talked himself out of being a minister and into writing his own book about the Anunnaki, which I thought was amazing. So we did a lot of events last year too, where we all got to meet each other, and I don't know what events have you guys already lined some events up for yourselves, Janet?
I have, actually. Oh, I'm sorry.
John.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, John. No, go ahead, John.
Javier Sandoval, or more affectionately known as Javi, he owns the Awareness Life Center in Cottonwood, Arizona, which is about a 20-something minute drive from where I'm living right now. And it's all tricked out. It's all completely teched out with flat screen monitors, computers, Wi-Fi, sound system, sound boards. It's a little small, but he has a big backyard. And in October, the weekend of October 13th, 14th, and 15th, I believe, he's going to do the conference inside and outside. So that time in October, it'll be very temperate and very comfortable.
Nice.
He has everything you need. Even equipment to make food. He's going to sell food. Of course, he's selling tickets. They're going to have workshops. I'm going to be one of the MCs along with Suzanne Ross, who I was talking about earlier, of Supernatural Sedona, the film producer. We're both going to be the MCs. Javi, as outspoken as he can be, he doesn't even really want to even speak at his own conference. I know him. He'll end up speaking some, but he wanted Suzanne and I to be the MCs, so I was totally honored. And it's only like 20-something minutes from my house, so perfect. And it's possible that Brad Olson will be staying with me during the conference, so that, Javi doesn't have to pay for a hotel room for him. And, if I can do that for him, I'm not positive because it's my aunt and uncle's house. I'm not sure if they're going to be in town or not, but I'm pretty sure that Brad's going to end up staying with me the whole weekend. And, 6'9" giant who loves to research giants and is incredibly brilliant. He owns his own publishing company and has nine awards for his books. I mean, how impressive is that? Awesome guy to hang out with. But anyway, it's going to be a great conference. Let's see, Ray Hernandez from Miami, Florida, and Dr. Edgar Mitchell's Free Foundation, the Foundation for Research into Extraterrestrial Encounters. He's going to be flying in. Mary Rodwell, had this dialogue with Janet earlier. She's going to be flying in. I'm not sure if she's flying in from Australia or if she's somewhere in some other part of the world, and they're going to fly in from there. We have a great lineup of guests, speakers, and I'm going to do a little entertainment spin on it also, which I'm not going to tell anybody quite yet what I have in mind.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. I was just trying to envision, I've met Brad, and he's a wonderful person. I just love him. But I was talking to Sasha, and he was like hitting the top of the, we have a king-size bed, and his head's barely, clearing the headboard, right? And his feet are hanging on. I go, honey, you're like 6 foot tall. What about these poor people that's 6'9"? Where do they how do they sleep? How do they get a bed big enough? So, I don't know. That would be an interesting picture. Did he sleep with his feet hanging off the side?
I called Javi today, and I'm like, I don't even know if I have a bed big enough, for him.
Oh man.
Yeah.
He will be on the floor.
I have a guest, someone I wanted to call in to talk about what we've done in the future. If you guys don't mind me breaking in, I want to welcome Jeffrey Boyd Jr. to the show. Hello, Jeffrey. You with us?
Hey, can you guys hear me all right?
We can. Hi, Jeffrey.
Cool.
Long time no hear from you. How you doing?
I know. Oh, it has been crazy. It's been amazing, one thing after another. And
it's wonderful.
It's just, it's sped up so much, and been trying to write, but I literally had to put that to the side for right now. Looks like I'm going to be getting international here pretty shortly. Y'all hear about that later.
Yeah,
one of those
hear about it.
And then all the point doom stuff, I came up with those images that people have been trying to get for a long time inside of it, which proves Ice Age construction because it dug all those huge Malibu Canyon. So you think about the Colorado River cutting through and digging the Grand Canyon. Think about how long it would take ice melting to cut into the rock, and that's 2,000 feet deep. So we're talking about pushing history way back, and breaking the history that's there now completely. And it's just, I've been going 20 hours a day every day, and now it's all turning into something really awesome.
Yeah, I wanted to bring you on, Jeffrey, for a couple reasons. One is that I think you're one of our success stories as somebody who early on in his coming out of information, you came on with me and John, and then it just kind of exploded from there. And then I also wanted to let people know that we're going to be doing a show called Portals of Knowing on Revolution Radio, and it's going to be a panel-type show, and Janet's going to be one of the rotating panelists. John may come on, Brett, but also I've asked you to come on there, and that's going to be exciting. I want to get people who have a broad and deep understanding of things, share their research and what's going on, and we were really happy to get you on there, and it just seems like things went from there, didn't it?
Oh yeah, I mean, even me just changing since that first show we did, just talking about Poverty Point and metallurgy when I was still working at Komatsu, and and then from the Research Society, it's just gone completely off the charts into a universe I never even thought it would go into, and it never planned any of it, just kept taking the next step in faith, which direction I thought I was supposed to go. What's up, John? You been doing all right?
I have. Yeah, I have.
Cool.
I was when I realized you were going to be on the show, first thing that popped into my mind is Phnom Padang is 40,000 years old.
Yeah.
40,000 years old, rewriting history. And I remember us talking about it on Aquarian Radio and on my show, Quantum Hologram Matrix, and it really redefines history. You want to talk about it since I brought it up?
Oh yeah. I mean it totally does. And see, at first, like when I was on the Quantum Hologram Matrix with you, it was like I was just then starting, I had just stopped working out there and just started, looking at things like Klaus Donner's book, Hidden History, Humanity, and all the ancient alien stuff, and started answering questions, even what the pyramids are made of. People have been wondering how it's been built, and, first thing I did was ask for a chemical analysis of the thing. It showed that it's made of concrete. The Sphinx is made of limestone, and you can look at the two next to each other and tell. But it's been just amazing. But the history is just, it shows that there's just massive agenda lensing of everything, and there always has been. But now we don't have to listen to a story that was written by the victors of wars. That's what I always say. Now it's being rewritten by us, the insurgents. Because now it's just we're not letting anyone tell us the story of what history is. I'm just looking at the data and letting it tell us what happened. But this single-celled organism up to a fish that grew legs, that walked out, that climbed into a tree, that jumped down and had legs, and then bam, here we are. That is retarded. That's just retarded. That's one of those things, like I said in the very first show, that's just the elite trying to stay the peak of intelligence in the universe ever. And I said that means we're in a dumbass universe. Oh, excuse me. But it really is. It's just, it's frustrating. But I went back and took education my second time in college, and I was like, didn't do any of my student teaching because I had no intentions of teaching in public schools and didn't know why I was doing it, but now I do. And it's just, from being invited to the symposium, the Advanced Archaeology Symposium, as a speaker, I skipped all of the steps that I thought, anybody had to take up to that point. But we prove things, just all over the world. But when you take just metallurgy, and there's so few of us, there's probably, there's millions of chemists just in China. And metallurgists, chemical metallurgists, there's only, like 150 of us, like worldwide. But when you can look at stone, and in every book it's labeled as, hey, here's an artifact that's made of volcanic rock, and it was carved, and it's like got this complex structure inside. And I'm like, that's That's not volcanic rock. That's just stone that's been melted down and poured. And I found carvings like in Indonesia. It's going to be in my book, and it actually is a carving, a relief of the process of them crushing up stone, things like quartz, and mixing it into the stone. And it shows the guy not just pouring stones, but pouring the actual statue. So a lot of those things that they were saying are statues that were chiseled out are not, and even down to how the pyramids work and what they are worldwide, and everything, and just so much understanding far past what I ever even imagined, and all that work put in every single day. It's most people won't do that unless they're getting something out of it right then. But now it's gone far beyond anything I ever thought it could. But when you like put that, I mean, just the architecture that they had proves that they had the technology for it, because to get a fire that hot and to do metallurgy, it's actually a very low-tech thing. But then you start, when you apply that to the artifacts and the sites worldwide, I mean, now we're with LiDAR and muon and things like that, muon imaging, now we're starting to get, before, think about it, everybody's heard it during the 80s. Now we're going out into space because we've discovered everything here. No, we haven't even, we've just barely begun. There's layers and layers and layers. I think that we've never even heard of 90% of the civilization that existed. And, I've even found proof that there was probably intelligent life building things on this planet when there was very little water on the planet. And it's just been crazy, and it just completely eye-opening. And with, the Independent Research Society, it's like I've connected with people, and they have their little pieces of the puzzle, and I've got my pieces, but when we all share that, I give them the metallurgical knowledge and what I see certain places, and then they tell me something, and now we all share all those pieces, and things start advancing and exponentially just get faster and faster. And now we're uncovering civilizations like Graham Hancock. I feel like something bad was done on purpose to him.
Oh yeah,
recently.
he had a heart attack recently.
It's seizures and everything, and I totally believe that if he didn't go back to Bath, UK, where he lives, that he would be dead if he would have stayed in the United States. But see, he's actually researching, and I didn't even know this, the same exact thing I am.
Oh, wow.
One of the things I'm researching is in North America, the actual history, because George Washington said when he crossed the Appalachians the first time going west into the Ohio River Valley, he said, and remember, he had seen Boston and Philadelphia and probably Europe and lots of massive construction sites and ran an army. So that he said that he thought it was barbaric. They were leveling. He said the largest construction projects he had ever seen, pyramids, mounds, and entire city-states were being leveled and buried in the name of barbarism. I mean, in the name of clearing the continent of barbarism. And it's just, and so all that stuff is still here. And with the LiDAR imaging and stuff that I've been doing now, I'm starting to see where these things are underground, and it's just all around us. And if you listen to the history of the Inca and everybody who's in South America now, they came down from North America when it was Atland, but before it was Atlant, it was something else. But now we know the Celts and the Nordic were in the north. They literally split it. The Norse were, in the north, in the Nova Scotia and Canada area, and south of that to Baltimore, the Celts were. So the Columbus Day history thing just does, it's not flying anymore. And,
hey, Jeff,
it's just one. It's been one to another.
Could you explain what LiDAR is?
It's a type of imaging. Now we can see from satellites. We can see into the ground. Before, you if there were dense, the deeper you go toward the core of the Earth, which is just a solid. That's where all the materials, just being heavier, will sink over time until the lighter materials are on top, and that's with anything you just set out. But LiDAR, you can look. It's like laser imaging from a satellite, but now we can look up to 6 kilometers deep, 4 miles.
Wow.
And so.
What was muon?
And it can also be adjusted.
Go ahead. Muon.
Muon, yeah. And see, with LiDAR, you can look for things like wood, metals, things like that, and then they'll show up. And now even gravitational anomalies, because the gravity's not even over the entire Earth, so it's pretty cool. But muon imaging, these are the two that are going to change the entire everything. Okay, say you break your ankle, you go to the emergency room, they put you up on the table, X-ray table, and they put a white plate underneath your leg, and they put the little crosshairs on you, and then boop, they buzz, and now the image is on that plate. They take that and they pull the film, and there's your X-ray. Well, what muon imaging is, just take those plates, like they did the bent pyramid, and now they found a secret chamber on, I think, the northeast corner of the Great Pyramid of Giza, and they they take those white tiles to the deepest part of any structure or anything. If you just take it below anything, they lay them down like tiles on a floor, side by side, and then leave them overnight. Well, the cosmic rays rain down on us all night, and as they come through the pyramid or building or whatever you are, if you just go deep underground, as it goes through the material, it hits those plates at a certain angle, and depending on the density of the material it went through and the speed it hits the plate and the direction, well, after it's been, all night long of cosmic rays hitting it, they take all those plates back to the lab, and they lay it down, and they have what's called a high-speed microscope, and it literally scans all the plates. They put the plates back down in that position, and it scans all of them, and it gives you a 3D image of literally every cubic millimeter. So even if there's an area that's an inch by an inch by an inch of different density inside of a massive pyramid, it'll show up on that. So we're talking about super high def, billion pixel imaging. So
as long as you can get under something full, you're good to go. That's amazing.
Exactly. I mean, if you wanted to, you could drill a hole and lower plates, a sheet of plates down, and leave them there, and then the next day you'll see, everything that's above that. But now it's just the freedom of information. Now we've got to have access to that. But now that private citizens have access to that technology, it's we're starting to find out things really quickly, and it's speeding up really fast. It gets to the point where now I'm like, okay, I've got to go to sleep because I can't even sit my head up, because one leads to another, and the longer you work, the more you find, and I don't want to stop. But now it's just, the world is opening up to us, and we're starting to get a real history. Because you look further back, it looks more like Star Wars, where you've got 100 different races.
Yeah, higher than us instead of lower than us. When you go farther back, it's strange.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to give Janet a chance to comment now that we brought you on here, or questions or whatever. Janet, ball's in your court. Hello, Janet.
Hi, I had to unmute. Yeah. When you're on your phone, it blinks off, and it's like, you press a bunch of buttons to get back to unmute. Yeah, welcome back, Jeff. I'm excited for you and all that's happened. I like to hear these success stories, and I hope you're enjoying your new busy life and jet setting all over the planet and talking about this all over the place. That's wonderful. Let's see. When we were on the last round, I think you asked Karen about what's coming up. So we do need to talk about. We're in the last final hour. Wait one second. He's asking me something. Okay, there we go. So for us in October, we're going to go over to Austin, Texas, and one of our other fields is Tantra, and actually Tantra ties in with consciousness and spirituality, because when you have your chakras opened and aligned, you get a Kundalini awakening, and we found that you can use Tantra to open hailing frequencies and connect with extraterrestrials and interventionals and everything else. You can get your past life information, other incarnations of other planets. So it's a wonderful tool which helps you access information on your own. You don't need a third party or a hypnotherapist. You can learn how to do this either alone or with a partner or in groups, and learn how to connect with Source and also create a wonderful relationship or relationships, depending on your orientation and relationship style. And it's going to be in Austin on the final weekend of the month of October. Let me get the dates. October 27th. It's a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Is Celebrate Sacred Sexuality, and then the following weekend, Scott and Melanie are going to teach sexual empowerment, and the whole 2 weeks we're going to end up on the 8th of November with a graduation. There's a party and a graduation. We come back to Hawaii, so that's very exciting. I'm not going to make it to the premiere of the show because I'm getting nose surgery. You might notice that my voice gets kind of nasally. Well, that's because I suffer from nasal polyps. I've had them all my life. So I'm going to get some surgery to get them cut out. And also it's been affecting my ear. I've been losing my hearing in my right ear, and I keep saying, hey, what? More and more. So
you're too old to be doing that. Or you're too young to be acting like an old person that can't hear.
Right.
That can be valuable sometimes.
Well, it's really good when you want to sleep and everybody's making too much noise, or the neighbors cutting the grass or something. You just turn over on your good ear. It's like you just put in earplugs. But those days will soon be gone. And I'll be hearing again, and maybe I haven't had a sense of smell all my life, so I've had this problem all my life. So anyway, I'm excited about that. But unfortunately, my surgery is scheduled for the day of the premiere. So you guys will have to carry on without me. But I am so confident.
Well, I'm
trained you well. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry about that. No, the reason why I interrupted, and I'm sorry I interrupted, was that since it's the Aquarian Radio Network, it's kind of a loose network of programs. Throughout the week, there's a lot going on. Because you start with the Sacred Matrix on Sunday, and you have if you could run down all the shows that you have, and then whatever you can tell us for what you'll be doing for Fridays, and then are you still working with? And if you're still working with TJ on Saturday, you're on quite a few times per week. If you could run those down, so know about those.
I'm going to be exhausted. I'll be fine. It's good as long as I'm here, but then I get the call, like Jeffrey, like all of us, I get the call to go out somewhere, present. And so then it's like we need to have trained co-hosts that can take over. I understand why, Jimmy Church got his start, and who are all the people that well, with Art Bell first and George Norrie. So they've learned over the years to train co-hosts and get people who come on. And so, I'm very excited and proud that both you and John, it's feel like the kids are leaving the nest, but we're always connected. We're still involved in the Aquarian Radio Network. But let me pull up the different shows. See, we're family. We're family, and family is always involved.
Sacred Matrix. John and I both have had a chance. That's a show on Revolution Radio. People can go to see or hear archives on AquarianRadio.com. But the show live broadcast Sunday. What time is it on? I think it's on Studio. There's a Studio A and Studio B, and you're on Studio B.
Yeah, my shows all tend to be on Studio B. Sacred Matrix launched Studio B. They said to us,
neat.
Do you want to? We've gotten so big, we need to open the Studio B.
I think I was on.
We ended up
radio. I think 3 times last week.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
He was on some other programs. Yeah. Hey, Jeffrey. See what time? I want to ask you something in a minute, but Janet. So what time is the Sacred Matrix?
I'm ready. I just pulled it up. So Sacred Matrix is 8 to 10 Eastern, and then on Tuesdays I have Divine Paradigm on KCOR. It's 5:30 to 7. It's a 90-minute show, and then I'm starting on, when am I starting? We get to September. Our start date is September 12th. And that's if I'm feeling well enough after my surgery, called the Ascension Center. And I'm going to do that with T.J. Morris, Teresa J. Morris. Now, I need to put back on the calendar, John, your show. What's your show? Quantum Hologram Matrix. But I want to make sure you're back, and then I'll put it on.
I am.
Send me an email. What I'd like from you, Karen, is a little description of your show, which I can put in
it's on Thursday.
A page.
It's on every day of the week here. Yeah. So Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday,
not what
Thursday.
It is. A little description
it's 4
of
to
your
6
show.
When
right.
is Sorry.
And the question, Karen, is a description of your show, and I know you wrote it up somewhere, so send that to me, and I'll put it up on my Aquarian Radio site, and I'm going to be getting someone to build my Aquarian Radio Network site, because Aquarian Radio is getting huge. It's got like thousands of pages. So Portals of Knowing is 4 to 6 on Thursday. Quantum Hologram Matrix, what date and time? Wednesdays, right?
Yeah, Wednesday, 8 to 10 Eastern, and now I'm Pacific time, which I'm still not used to. I'm waking up at 5 in the morning every day, but it's 5 to 7 Pacific, 8 to 10 Eastern every Wednesday. ETs, UFOs, and spirituality.
Oh, yeah, now
Please
you
join
have to
us.
do the time zone change, because you're in Pacific time now, right? You're in Pacific?
I am, and from what I understand, they don't recognize daylight savings time, so the time never changes here. And so sometimes it's 2 hours behind Eastern, and sometimes it's 3 hours behind. It depends what time of year it is, and my body clock's all messed up. I'm having trouble sleeping. My soul has shifted so much since I have moved here.
It'll take 2 weeks. 2 weeks to catch up. Well, let me just finish it, then I'll pass the time to stick on to the next person.
Yep.
So we're removing Experiencers Path. I still have a few shows, Experiencers Network, that are far in the future, so don't worry about it. I'll handle that. But as I was talking, I woke up and my friend Stephanie Mark, who's a talk person, said, I just was on some shows with Barbara Mark Hubbard and somebody else, and I'm not doing it. I need to do media. So she went on and on and on and on. I said, hey, I just got an opening. And you want to do a Tantra show, we'll call it Tantra Talk. So that'll be premiering on, I don't know if she wants to do it once a month or every other week. I'll find out, but that'll be taking up some of that void on Friday. And I'm going to teach her. I teach people to fish. I'm not going to fish for you. I'm going to teach everybody how to fish. And that means, doing your own show, finding your own guests and all that stuff. But she, fortunately, knows a lot of people. Like John and Karen, you guys are getting very, you're networking. You're learning how to do it. So then on Saturdays, I still do shows with Teresa J. Morris called Cosmos Connection. So I'm really busy. Everybody pray for me that I have enough energy to do 5 days a week. But that's okay. This is my life right now, and I'm going to be doing this. And then when I hit the road, I hope that by then we get more people trained in the network, and we can either run the best of shows or, have people come on, because this is our time to wake up humanity and get this planet conscious. This is the year 2017, 2018. This is disclosure time. So with that, I don't know who wants to talk and stick, but I'm going to pass it on. Next person,
John,
take it away, Karen.
Go ahead, John, and I got a question for Jeffrey after you're done.
Okay. So this journey across the country, it was just so incredible. Every stop along the way, I was either with good friends or family, and it was very nourishing to me to be around my good friends and my family. And I left a whole lot behind, but I've come to a certain point of closure over it, which was necessary because I went through a certain depression when I first moved here, and I allowed Sedona to change my mind and my vibe, and it's just been so positive and good. And so I move here, and I'm like, well, how do I make money? Well, I brought my DJ sound system with me, and who did I meet the other day? I met the biggest karaoke guy in town. And he picked me up. We went out and we sang and we tore the rafters down in this place. Had a great time. And he's this big, funny-looking guy, and he's so not attractive that he's adorable, and everybody loves him, and so he's like my best friend now. I've just been truly blessed to have run into all these incredible people here. Florida is in the Stone Ages compared to this place spiritually, and everybody I've talked to about my journey here, they use this term, and let's throw it out there and remember it, that I was called here. I was called here. The first time I heard it, I didn't know how to receive it, but it made a lot of sense that I was called here. I mean, if you look at the situation, my aunt and my uncle, they're not living in this house right now because of health problems. So I have this house that I can live in out here. It's just been an incredible journey, and, I try and stay as humble as possible in the eyes of, everything that has happened to me recently. I've met some incredible people. I'm blessed for that, and I've come up with some concepts, like I usually do. But my first concept was Sedona UFO Radio in conjunction with my show Quantum Hologram Matrix. Why not? Sedona UFO Radio. It seems to flow really good. So, yeah, and then I'm going to try and cross-pollinate with Supernatural Sedona, with Suzanne Ross, and there's a ton of people here. And there's a lot of people here, and I didn't understand this, a lot of people here that are struggling really bad because it's expensive to live here. It's not cheap to live here. So to be able to live here, unless you have money, it's tough. And I talk to these people, and their intentions are so true and so just, and they're struggling to get by. And as an empath, as we all are on this panel, my heart goes out to. There's so many people, and I live by the public library, and what I did not realize is that a lot of the homeless people go there because they can take refuge there. If you have a membership there, everything's free. And so they walk right past my house all the time. And, and I don't care who you are, I just care who you are as a person. And so I start talking to these people, and for the very most part, they all seem to be really good people, but a lot of them are in very difficult situations. But they are bent on staying here. The energy in the vortexes here, it keeps them here. And they don't want to move on. They'd rather struggle here than be more prosperous somewhere else because of the energy that exudes from this power point and this acupuncture point on this planet. All the meridians seem to cross here and in other places around the world, but they definitely cross here, and I seem to be right in the middle of it. And I was telling you about Thunder Mountain, where I'm positive there's multiple bases in and under the mountain. I'm looking at right now, and it's so majestic. It's so beautiful. It take your breath away. So this journey, this escapade I'm on, it's really just beginning, and it's been so incredible and incredibly humbling at the same time. And I lived in Florida my whole life, pretty much, and my friends, my now ex-girlfriend of 6.5 years, who I still am in love with, I'm still very connected to all of them, but I slowly have to, let all that go to move on to this new dimensional realm in which I've entered. And it's been a lot to fathom and digest, but I feel privileged to be here, and I'm on a journey, and I'm on a mission. And like I said, I was called here, and that's what everybody, it's like that is the coin term out here. You've been called here. And then I meet, Suzanne Ross. She moved here 2 years ago. I meet this guy named Matthew and his girlfriend Megan, and then they moved here like a year ago. And I meet all these people that have moved here in like the last year to 5 years, and they will tell you that they were called here also. So there's absolutely something to it. The location of this house was no accident. Like I was saying, every tour company, and there probably is 20 or more in this town alone, to the point where Chamber of Commerce or city government, no more tour companies. Because Javi and I were going to try and open our own tour company here. And then we found out it'll cost $125,000 just to get permitted to do it. But they capped it anyway. Nobody can open up a tour company here. Javi has a 23-passenger bus and the Awareness Life Center. It was the perfect setup to set up a tour company. But we opted not to do it because we can't. We could do it in the surrounding areas. And this is interesting also, is that Clifford Mahooty lives about a half an hour from where I live. David Childress lives about a half an hour from where I live. So these incredibly important players in this whole thing are not far from where I live. And then David Hatcher Childress has a bookstore in Jerome, Arizona. And Javi and I drove by it the other day, and he's like, "Dude, you got to go there." And I'm as soon as I get my books, I ordered 60 books. As soon as I get them, I'm gonna go. That's gonna be one of the first places I go. And once I get my 60 books, 30 of the Yahweh book, 30 of the Blue Beings book, I'm gonna aggressively market myself as possible. And the library's right next door. So, could I have prayed for a better place to end up? I don't think so. So I passed the talking stick on.
Thanks. Like I said, we're going to come visit you, John. I think we're called at least visit.
Well, invite yourself over and just come on up.
We can do a radio show in your backyard.
I've got good Wi-Fi.
Oh, great. Good. That's what we need. I wanted to ask Jeffrey for a quick rundown, because I have kind of a big announcement to make pertaining to everything we've talked about, and I'll save that for after. But I wanted Jeffrey to have a quick rundown on the shows that he's been on. It seems like every week lately I see him on something. I know he was on Spaced Out Radio either the last time or a couple times ago. Jeffrey, if you could just let everybody know where they can go hear you on these other shows, that would be great. I'd like to hear about that.
Well, actually, the list got so long, and now it's people in the Research Society like Walter Bosley and Larry Scranton and Steve Pierce and everybody in the world, Chase Klotsky from MUFON, and everybody. I made a little on-demand section, and the list has grown to, because there was no way I'd be able to even keep up with it, but I was on Lighting the Void with Joe Rupe, and that was Joe. I call him Rupe. It's Joe Rupe, and that's KTLK and the Fringe.fm, and then I was on with the same person I was on with John the first time, with Dave Cruz. We've done like, I don't know, 5 or 6 shows on Beyond the Strange, and then we had the Beyond the Strange video special where I released the photos of Inside Point Doom. And then I did Spaced Out Radio, which is like Canada's big show on Revolution Radio. And there's a couple coming up that I'm about to hopefully do a show in Spain with some of my friends when they get back there. They're really big down in South America too, and also looks like I might be doing the Kev Baker show soon, and he's in Scotland, but he had a heart attack and he's been getting over that. And so if you go on the Independent Research Society page, there's just a massive list of them, and I did Lighting the Void a few times, and I can't even think of all of them. It's just been so crazy. It really has been like a show a week. Religiously, it's been constantly.
Yes, that's the Independent Research Society on Facebook. That's where people could find your group, which has grown leaps and bounds and got a wonderful list of people that have joined it, and I think it's great. It kind of goes along with other research societies. Brett is the admin of the Lunar Anomaly Research Society. I've been doing the Earth Anomaly Research Society. I'm really glad you came out with an independent one. So it's all these people that have used the new tools that we've all gotten with the internet and with independently researching and not waiting for academia approval of whatever it is that we're talking about. This is the fast and loose and on the ground and right on the cutting edge of research from people that have unique backgrounds. You've got that background as a metallurgist. I have a background in computer science, and Brett is an artist, and so it's all of us who have our different. Janet and John have our different unique backgrounds that has given us unique perspectives on so many topics. I was really glad that the Independent Research Society got off the ground, and you've had kind of a stellar, lineup of people who've joined it and are sharing.
And what's coming next is just more massive than all of them. It's just crazy. And Dave Cruz just messaged me, "Hey, Dave." And they're listening. Steve Pierce just sent me a message too. And Fire in the Sky with Travis Walton, he was with him that day. And but I can't talk about the other one until it's done. So I'll like call in, do a show from Asia or wherever I'm at. I can't even tell where I'm going yet. But and the people who were my heroes now, like that I studied, answering those first questions. Now I'm getting to work with them, and talk to them all the time, and it's just been amazing, But and being able to do like Dave Cruz, him doing shows with me, and Joe on Lighting the Void, then I realized some bad habits I had on the radio, and so I started, because when you called me that first time, I was so nervous I don't even remember doing the show, and so
you did okay.
It really has been a ride, but now it's like I've got this first book, and multiple people offering to publish it, and now I have to put that on hold partway through or halfway through because this other thing came up. But it's about what we were talking about when I first came on, and now it's not about disclosure. Now it's the whole picture of history, of other life, everything. It's just the proof of all of it. It's confirmation. You know, we're getting so much like hard evidence, like in your hand, like right there. You know, and we're coming to the point to where we don't really need somebody who's lied to us every single day to tell us that anymore. You know, you can just look up, or, you know, like I watched the Solar Dynamics Observatory or the helioviewer.org, where you're watching the sun. It's a high definition shot of the sun all the time, and you see so many different life forms and things hovering around the sun all the time. And all the satellites that I'm looking at all the time, I mean, you see it all of the time. And you can see Google edit. I always put up the comparison of the photos, them editing things out as they go. But it really is a battle against an establishment, because the closer you hit to home, or the more important the information is, or the more potent it is, the more, I mean, I started seeing instant opposition. Where I always thought that, like, because of some people that I answered the questions in their books, or they studied something for years and I answered it, and that was just because I was coming from a different direction than they were. You know, they were in a classroom and listened to their teacher, and then they regurgitated the same thing that they heard. And I just wiped all that out and said, you know, scientific method, there's no room for conjecture, there's no room for opinion or anything like that. You just get the data, and like all these lost, and all of it's connected, because like I think I figured out what all of the megaliths are, and it's almost a for certain answer. And it was a technology passed on and on and on, and it has to do with the metallurgy thing too, and being able to use the earth and the energy around it, and even the beam. How, you know, the big question was, if there's a beam coming out of the top of the pyramid of Bosnia, how come it gets like 100 times stronger 300 feet above it? Because anything electric, you're going to have the strongest point, like at the point of contact, not a space, and then it gets 300 times stronger or whatever above it. But that's because it's charging up, but it's negative side up, pulling the positive energy out of the air, when people used to think they were pulling energy out of the earth. Well, they were pulling energy out of the earth, but you charge something up, positive side down, negative side up, you pull down all of the electricity, the positive charge from the ionosphere and from our whole atmosphere. And even the stones at Carthage, I like measured them, and they're like exactly the wavelengths. It gets longer and longer and longer. Like when you throw a rock into a pond, that exact same wave distance. You know, adding this distance plus one, this distance plus one. I mean, it's technology. These big megaliths are technology. Think of a microchip. Think of a macrochip. The bigger you make it, it's still going to work, because it's still the same exact thing. And that's when I found, and you see like at Pumapunku in places where you have this total flat gray color, and I think we talked about that on the first show, but you don't find carved earth stones that don't have like like lines of other stuff like you see in marble, where you see different colors and stuff. That's what earth stones look like. When you get this flat gray color, that means like the soft carbons have been burned out of it, or it was a mixture to where it's completely consistent all the way through. And and now I've even talked to people like Dr. Sam Osmanagic in Bosnia, and I told him, I said, I think they were crushing quartz and adding it to these stones, these massive stones like the Trilithon stone. And when you have this massive stone that you put any weight on a quartz crystal, you have piezoelectricity, you run water across it, you have piezoelectricity. But now when you have this 500-ton stone that, 25% of it's quartz, now you have the stone that's more like the marble stuff that you see and it's everywhere. It's in Egypt, it's in and they always have it in common. They're sitting on top of quartz, and they have water running underneath it. And even the Mayan religion is based on the river that runs under the mountain. But all of that was technology, and I totally believe that with some resources I could actually make those things work again. Because most of, there was no entrance to the pyramid at Giza until we made one. It's like in the 20s or 30s, they blasted a hole of dynamite into it. We're not doing archaeology that way anymore, but we're starting to see, and that's one of the things I've been proving. There are at least two absolutely totally different time periods of Egypt and everywhere else that were separated by 25, 30,000 years. And even the oldest Egyptian writings talk about the golden age before them. There was a 25,000-year-old civilization and technology. Well, we have 150-year-old technology, and the better our technology gets, the more biological it gets, the more natural it gets, and the more green technology it gets. Well, imagine 1,000 years into the future, you would start seeing that technology. That's what it would look like. And you do LiDAR like of Angkor Wat. I may have shown you the picture, but underneath Angkor Wat, you see the temple when you're there, but underneath the ground, when we do the LiDAR, it looks like a massive motherboard, a big circuit board. But then I found that at Teotihuacan and all the other places, and you have a worldwide technology. Just like right now, there's somebody watching a Samsung TV or talking on the same type of phone I am in Egypt, wearing a Nike shirt. It was knowledge shared worldwide. But I think there's been, you don't even hear in history of people like the Kurgan and giants like in Russia. Most people don't even know they exist and didn't even realize, like Shoria Gornaya, they thought the Trilithon stone at 900 tons was the biggest stone. Shoria Gornaya is so massive, megalithic, it's got stones that are it's a mountain of megalithic stones that aren't 900 tons. They're 3,000 and 4,000 ton stones. We're talking 4 and 5 times bigger than the Trilithon stone in Baalbek. So this just... Now it's beginning to form into one picture, and that's even the beginning. That you have to reach that understanding, and when you do, it's like the answers start coming quickly. Once it's like when you're stuck. I said that. Oh, I was on ground zero too. I forgot about that. Things just start opening up to you when you get to the right place, and a scientific method has been taken out of archaeology, and it's been a theory contest for a long time, and you have hundreds of thousands of professors who have hundreds of students in each class, 5 classes, the books are $200 a piece. Well, you have 150,000 reasons per semester right there for that teacher to never, or that archaeologist to never make any more advancements. Or they don't want anything to change. They go on these trips that they have the money and they prove their theory more right. Well, that's not science, because they're saying everything else is out of place. The first thing you learn in science and in chemistry class and any of it is do not test for a certain result, or you'll get that result and you'll label everything out of place. Well, now we're to the point, is everything an out of place artifact, or is everything right and history is the part that's out of place? And that's where we're at now, and and if you want to hear the Ground Zero show, and it wasn't even on archaeology, I went on that show for biology, like cryptozoology, physics, and what it meant, the ecosystem found when the Russians dug through Lake Vostok, what that cryptozoological find means to exobiology in our trip to Europa and the search for life, because that is an environment that would be very close to what we would find on Europa. And, they found like a 14-legged isopod there. They detected a magnetic anomaly under there. And one of the things I think that got me on is I said, the magnetic anomaly, once they punched through the ice, shifted to the other end of the lake, where you started hearing UFOs and all this other stuff. And I was like, it's probably a massive squid or octopus or something, because they have hemocyanide blood. That means it's made of copper. And they have 3 hearts. Squid and octopus, all those do. And the creatures that have that copper blood are like jellyfish, squid, mollusk, all the octopus. But when you circulate that with 3 hearts, you have an electromagnet. Well, now you got to think about the torus action of the Earth, the magnetosphere. All the bands go out of the North Pole, and they all converge and go straight into Antarctica, right on top of Lake Vostok. And it was under 12,000 feet of ice and sealed away for all, they said millions of years, but we have maps that show in the 1600s and where it's free of ice, 1700s. I forgot the name of the guy's map. But when you wipe away any, you just got to wipe away any previous knowledge or previous, I wouldn't even call it knowledge, previous things that you thought about it or that you were taught about it, and you go there and you let the information tell you what it is. And then you look at the quote-unquote mythology, the local stories of it, and we're finding out one at a time. We're proving as our technology gets better, we understand that it's not mythology. It's actually true. And so that tells us right there that if we didn't understand the story and we thought it was just some fairy tale until our technology could understand it, that means that we are not the most high-tech that's ever been around. And but that megalithic technology, you would have an automated power plants all the time. And even that kid, they call him the kid genius, that Max Laughlin kid, even he was lighting up his brother with LED lights by charging up a battery, positive side down, put 2 copper rods in a bucket and pointed and had them sticking up out of the bucket, and that's exactly what he's doing. He was charging it up positive side down, pulling the electricity out of the atmosphere. That's why, and one of the things that led me to it is Tesla, that's what he was doing. And with the J.P. Morgan thing, it was like the loser wins. Whoever can come up with, whoever can come up with the least efficient system that I could sell the energy to, you're going to be the one that wins. And they destroyed all Tesla stuff. But he buried a ground wire 60 feet deep and had a tower 75 feet tall, and it was wireless electricity. And once that was found, that he broadcast electricity across his lab in Colorado Springs, that's when J.P. Morgan and his guys came and didn't just take his funding, they destroyed his lab. And that's the same system. I've got a Chase bank card in my pocket right now that I don't want, but that's the way things are.
I can understand. Jeff, we're getting to the end of the show, and I wanted to make one more round with everybody, but thank you for that, and it just promises real interesting information to come when you're part of our panel discussions on the Portals of Knowing show. I want to give everybody a chance to do any short statement of what else they wanted people to know about their activities. I'll tell about our website a little bit on my round, and then one short statement about the future, because this is sort of past, present, and future, and what you hope for the future, and kind of a short statement. We'll go around. We'll start with Janet. kind of a shameless
Hey,
plug and a statement for the future. Where'd you go? Hello, Janet.
I think your mute button's on. What's up, Che?
I'm muting. Sorry, it takes a second to unmute. It's like I'm doing everything I can. So, okay. The future. Well, I think we're shaping the future by what we do in this now and creating a better world for all of us. And I know it sounds kind of grandiose, but, when you empower yourself and you really not just believe, but you pull that within and you integrate it and you become it, you can be an effective force for this planet, for this evolution, to take us into another multiverse, another timeline where, we have a happy ending. And it's a happy ending for all of us. Trump is blaring, just like the end of the original Star Wars. That was a model for me because I saw that when I was in my early 20s, I think it was. So I just encourage everybody to do what you can do. This is what we've been doing on Aquarian Radio Network. Each of us have been developing our talents, taking a piece of the puzzle, doing the research, and making it happen for ourselves. And in doing so, we make it happen for others and for this whole planet. So that's what's going on there. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm envisioning. A lot of it is about manifesting, bringing it down into 3D physicality. Envisioning it first. Whenever I find myself going into a negative spot, just pick myself up. I envision myself, a bigger self, picking up my little self and saying, come on, let's get back on the horse. Let's do it again. Let's do it differently. Let's do it better. Let's go in another direction. Let's shift lanes. Let's change channels and make it happen, make it so. And it's not just for me. It's for everybody. All that we do is for everybody because we all affect each other. We're in this grid. We're all connected. The more we realize how connected we really are, how interdependent this whole planet is, the more we can start getting on the right track. So I don't know if that's what you wanted, but that's kind of what's coming out of my mouth for the final words for the show.
Oh.
And I really thank everybody for everybody who's tuned in. Please do take the links, download, share, post, put the word out there. We're doing everything we can to record these shows. They're here for the records. We're paying for the archiving. Please do download them, share them, and use this information to help wake up the world. And if you want to come on our shows, write to me at Aquarian Radio Network at gmail.com. Aquarian Radio Network at gmail.com. I'd like to hear your story. I'll do what I can to get you on as many shows as possible. We'll start you out small, so don't be afraid. And then, you'll be doing like Jeffrey is going all over the planet before you know it.
Yeah.
Okay, next
Thank
person.
you for y'all giving me my chance.
Yeah.
Thank you for being willing to
That's
show
what started
up and
it all.
speak out. Yeah. Well, you were brave enough to do it. I mean, we're all shaking when we start this. Our voices go, But the more you do it, the better you get at it, the more confident you get. So, back to you guys. Karen, sorry to interrupt you, but
that's fine. I wanted to make sure people, first of all, Janet, thank you so much for your friendship and collaboration so far. It's a privilege, and I'm glad we're going to continue, but I also wanted to make sure on the shameless side of the box for you is that anything that you want to follow up with, you got to go on aquarianradio.com. You'll find archives of the shows and the wonderful books by Janet and Dr. Sasha Lessin, and their continuing projects. And, John, if you want to give a shameless plug and a final statement, that'd be great.
Okay, so I'm restarting my show after a 7-week hiatus. Quantum Hologram Matrix on SBUnetwork.com, Spreaker.com, Quantum Hologram Matrix every Wednesday from 8 to 10 Eastern. And I'm back in the saddle, and I'm going to do a Sedona local show coming up with mostly the people that I met at that eclipse party, and that will be coming up this Wednesday. And of course, we all cross-pollinate. We have egos, but we love each other, so our egos are not a problem. It just makes us more powerful. Ego is often turned into something negative. It doesn't have to be that way. But anyway, so cross-pollinating with Aquarian Radio and now Revolution Radio. I'm excited about that. But and also johnpolkmedia.com, you can find my 2 books that Karen Christine Patrick, she actually donated articles to each book and was my editor-publicist, and you can find them. They're available on johnpolkmedia.com. Once again, that's johnpolkmedia.com. But I wanted to finish by asking Jeffrey a question. So you said earlier, and I did not know this, and I've interviewed you a couple times before, but that George Washington, when he crossed the Appalachians into the Ohio Valley, he found pyramids, and they leveled them and destroyed them. Are you kidding me? Karen, Janet, have you heard that before? I've never heard that before. This is some incredibly important information that nobody knows, Jeffrey. So, real quick, we're almost done, but, can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I mean, if you look, even down in Arkansas, there's the Toltec pyramids and mounds and things, and look at Ohio River Valley, you have the snake and all that stuff that's still there. And, it's just one of those things that has been, of course, that's been selectively taken out of history. There's no reason why anybody would ever put in the history books, look what we did to the Native Americans. But they were just leveling things before anybody got there, the same way that the Brits did down in Australia. They find what's called the Australian Stonehenge, and I say hi to Ildi and Evan and everybody down in Australia, and Chase Tucker. He's going to be the guy that's going to be the admin for me whenever I go out of the States. But it's just one of those things that was just it's agenda. There's no reason why anybody would want to put that in any of our history books, and government shouldn't have a place in deciding what we're being educated by, and that's why that statement by Aaron Swartz, he said he started studying the history of education, and then the businesses that they were training you to work for, and the country that they were, that set that system up, and he wanted to find other ways that people could, learn, and he was one of the first people to help get everything open source on the internet. And he said once he saw a way to change things, it could make a difference, and he didn't see a way to forget that. And he said I didn't see a way to not to, and that's kind of like me. I didn't see a way not to do it once I found out that I could. But there's just so many things that were left out, and I mean, like Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin having these UFO sightings on the way to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and you don't hear about that, but they did. And
we're down to just a couple. I'm so sorry to interrupt. We're down to just a couple minutes of the show.
Just a couple minutes.
Just if you could tell, it's pretty much to follow you on the Independent Research Society website. Did you have any other websites or anything you wanted people to know about?
Well, pretty much all of them run. It's networked off of that, so everything's connected to that now, and you can find everything on there. And if you go to Spaced Out Radio, you'll hear the show from the other night with Dave. He's doing Coast to Coast AM. They have a special guest host on Saturday and Sunday. He's on Spaced Out Saturdays, and then Joe Roop is on Lighting the Void, and that's still in some the same things, KTLK, The Fringe, Spreaker, and tons of Aquarian shows. We did Passing the Fire, where we sat there and worked out the energy problems during the Standing Rock movement and all that. And there's just a ton of information out there. And but now, thanks to you guys, I've got a lot better at delivering it.
Oh, great.
But, that's about it. I'm ready for the next one.
Oh, great. Okay, and I wanted to go ahead and thank everybody, and I love all the friendships that I have that I've met through these different venues, and I want to make sure people know about portalsknowing.com, the website. That's the media and book publishing company that Brett and I started. this year, after working on so many other people's books, we're working on our own. Have Portals of Knowing show on Revolution Radio Studio B starting September 7th at 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern. I hope people check that out. Panel discussion, digging deep, just like we had tonight, digging deep into topics. And I want to tell everybody about Digital Moon. Brett's doing Digital Moon. I did a book called The Anunnaki and the Moon, and there's other projects there on portalsofknowing.com. And for the future, I just want to continue that wonderful collaboration with my friends, helping to build a world that works for everybody. That's so important, and to provision each and every human being and raise our civilization up to a higher level, because we care and we provision everybody. So thank you so much for listening. And with that, good evening.
Peace out.
Aloha.
Thank you for listening to Aquarian Radio Friday nights, The Experiencer Path.
Welcome to the Total Wireless Store, where total confidence awaits.
Music powers my morning runs, but data overages slow me down.
Don't worry, you got this with the Total Wireless Store. Just bring your number and get 10 gigs of lightning-fast 4G LTE data with unlimited talk and text for $40 a month.
I'd run to the Total Wireless Store right now for that deal, if I wasn't already here.
Data girl.
Discover the Total Wireless Stores and get total confidence. The latest phones, the best network, all at great prices. Excludes TracFone Wireless Inc. brand sports. $40 plan must remain active to keep bonus data after 12/31/18. Terms at stores.totalwireless.com.